With the NHL draft being just a month away and the Memorial Cup just ending, it's a perfect time to do a mock draft for the 2024 NHL draft. Let's get right into it. And with the first overall pick, it's still going to be Macklin Celebrini, the consensus number one overall pick. I mean, a complete center that is really going to help out the Sharks day one. I mean, you just saw Will Smith sign. I mean, that's two great centerpieces. I mean, Smith might play in the wing, Celebrini might play in the wing, but it's two very good skill pieces that they're going to need for the future. And this is just a great start for San Jose's rebuild. I mean, they're getting a complete package from Macklin Celebrini. So he's going to be a very solid, hopefully top first line player for the Sharks. And then with the second overall pick, the Chicago Blackhawks, they could actually go a bunch of different ways here. I mean, I've seen Artem Levzhinov, I've seen Ivan Demidov, and I do think it's going to be one of them, but I just think they're going to go with, I think they're just going to go with Ivan Demidov. I mean, Artem Levzhinov can make sense because they need that right defenseman to play with Korchinski or Vlasic, but I just think that Demidov's skill set to put him on the wing with Bedard is just going to be insane. I mean, you saw what he was able to do: 60 points in 30 games for St. Petersburg, yes, and I mean in the playoffs too. It was 28-14, I think, just 2 points a game in both. I mean, it was just a magician with the puck, and that IQ is just amazing. And the way that he sees the ice is just on a different level. And with the third overall pick, I think that the Anaheim Ducks will go Artem Levzhinov, and I think they're gonna pick this if Demidov doesn't go two, I think Levzhinov will go two, and then the Ducks are pretty much stuck with either Dickinson or a Salayev, which it wouldn't be bad, but I just would prefer Levzhinov, and I just think that he's in a tier above them just because I mean the skating, the passing. I mean he's just very good at just being consistent in all the games, and he's just a very well-rounded defenseman. Doesn't make too many mistakes, and he's grown on me for the past couple months. I mean he just keeps continuing to get better every single game I watch him. It's just incredible. And with the fourth overall pick, the Columbus Blue Jackets will go on ahead and select Caden Lindstrom. And I think this is a good pick for them just because of the fact that the power forward style that the Blue Jackets need is just perfect. And his skating, the skill set that he has is just amazing at that size. And he's going to be a great player, center or on the wing in the future, which is really going to benefit them in the long run. And with the fifth overall pick, the Montreal Canadiens, I'm going to go a little bit off the board with this one and go with Beckett Seneca. And I think he's risen a lot throughout the rankings, and I'm actually a fan of this pick because he's just a really good player with the puck. I mean, great playoff run for Oshawa. I mean, he's just continuing to get better. I mean, the skating is not elite. He doesn't have that elite separation speed, but he's a very smart, good size. I mean, good shot. I mean, and a very good with the puck. I mean, just a very good player. With the sixth overall pick, I originally had Salayev, but I think Zeev Buim is definitely the pick here. I mean, Buim was fantastic for Denver. I mean, just every time we watched him, just continues to get better in every single way. I mean, with the puck, it's phenomenal what he's able to do with it. And then like defensively, he improved throughout the year. But you need the puck on this guy's stick. I mean, he's going to be quarterback in the power play, going to be the one or two for Utah in the long run for sure. He's a very special defenseman. And with the seventh overall pick, I think the Ottawa Senators could go in a bunch of different ways here. I'm going to go Zane Parekh, just because he had a great Memorial Cup, and he's just pretty well rounded now with his defensive play that he stepped up. And you obviously know that he's got those elite hands. I mean, he's got that great shot. I mean, he's just a perfect quarterback on the power play. Just got an insane skill set and just one of the best offensive defensemen that we've seen throughout the past decade, in my opinion. And with the eighth overall pick, I think that the Seattle Kraken will go with Anton Salayev. I mean, I still think he's elite, but well, not elite, but I still think he's a very good player. But I just really do think he's kind of slowing down on me as that end to the season run for him was just a little bit lackluster, and he kind of tends to force plays a little bit, and he's still pretty raw in those areas. But I just think there's a lot of clunkiness with the hands and the decision making. The skating's unreal for the size. The defensive play is amazing, but is it the question really is how much of that offensive potential can he really reach? And I don't think there's a lot of it. But this is a guy who can be a solid top four middle, maybe a middle pairing shutdown D for the future, and that's kind of what they need. But I don't think he's going to be this elite game changing like Zdeno Chara number one defenseman. I don't see it, but I could be wrong. But with the ninth overall pick, I'm actually going to go with a really interesting one, and I'm going to go with Carter Yakimchuk in the top 10, and I really like this one as well. I mean, a lot of D. You see four straight D man. I mean, even going above Sam Dickinson, who people thought Yakemchuk was the easily the fifth best D, but I just think that it's just the perfect right-handed D that they need. I mean, it's sort of a boomer bust pick. It's like, are you going to get a John Klimberg, or are you going to get a guy who just can't succeed at the next level and just going to be buried in like juniors in the AHL? But I think it's a really risky pick, but I love like the big, strong, heavy game he brings with that amazing shot. The hands are ridiculous, but it's that skating can be a little bit clunky, but it's the defensive play and on when pressure's on him, he tends to throw the puck away and makes some a little bit questionable decisions. But I think he's going to be a very good offensive defenseman, and if he grows in those areas defensively, he'll be a very good stud at the next level for Calgary. And with the 10th overall pick, I have the Devils selecting TJ Ginla. I mean, you probably thought he was going to go to the Flames here, but I mean, a lot of people are going to think that, but I just think TJ Ginla is amazing. I mean, great skater. I mean, he's got a decent size. I mean, 6 foot 185, not the biggest, not the smallest, but I mean, it's that shot that he brings. I mean, he's just a pure goal scorer, but has some great stick handling, touch to him. I mean, the passing's pretty good too. I mean, had a great playoff stretch for Kelowna. I mean, he's a very good, well-rounded winger. The defensive play is a little bit lackluster, but I think he'll grow in those areas. I mean, he's still raw, still a really young kid. Actually, yeah, one of the youngest kids in this draft. And I just think there's a lot of potential and a lot to like about TJ Ginla. And with the 11th overall pick, I think that the Buffalo Sabres will select Constant Hellenius. And he, in my opinion, he could go as far as like 6 or 7, but just a very safe pick. And I just think that teams like Utah or Ottawa, they're gonna try to go for the home run pick instead of going for like a really safe pick in Hellenius. Hellenius is gonna be first or second line, just kind of like a defensive, kind of a playmaking. He's kind of just a safe pick all around, just a guy you want in your line. He's gonna make people better around him. Not gonna be this like incredibly flashy player, but definitely gonna be an effective player at the next level. And with the 12th overall pick, I have the Philadelphia Flyers selecting Berkeley Captain. A lot of people are putting him higher, actually, and I can see why. I mean, he was great for the Chiefs in the WHL, but again, it's that size that he has. 5'11", 163, a little bit light. I mean, he's a very good, skilled, creative player. I mean, there's just still a lot of question marks, though, with the strength, his skating's good, but he doesn't have that elite separation speed. And for him to be a true number one center, he's got to bulk up, and I just think it's going to be a real struggle for him. I mean, he's producing like crazy, but I just think when he gets to that next level, there is going to be a little bit more time to adjust. But I do see the potential with Catton, but I think it's going to take him a little bit longer, which is no problem, and I do think he'll be a very good player at the next level. With the 13th overall pick, I have the Minnesota Wild selecting Sam Dickinson, and I have him dropping quite a bit actually, which is because, I mean, when he was for London with the Memorial Cup, he was solid, but the decision making was kind of lackluster at times, and that was kind of like the real setback that was questionable to me. I mean, still a great skater, got that great shot, and pretty good defensively. I'd like to see him use his body a little bit more, but it's just he's a weird one to rank because he's great, but he's not like a game-changing defenseman like Zeev Buium, but like he's a very good, solid defenseman that I do think is going to be. He's could probably end up going higher than this because there's a lot to like with the size, and he's got that and he's got great skating. But I just really think that in the transition game he will struggle a little bit, which I think he's still raw in those areas, but he's going to continue to get better in them. And with the 14th overall pick, I have the San Jose Sharks selecting EJ Emery. And you might think this is a little bit of a reach, but I think that EJ Emery is just a perfect, sort of well-rounded, safe pick. And even though you might think it's a little bit of a reach, I mean, I think it's perfect for what they need. I mean, I think the Sharks have a really good young core in forwards with Smith, Musty, Celebrini. Who else they got? They got Lund coming up, Eklund. Fabian Zetterlund is pretty good. Like, they got a pretty good, solid young core, and I just think the defensive side they do need some players. I mean, especially on right defense. I mean, I think this is just a pretty big, skates very well, was exceptional in the U18s to play alongside Cole Hudson, and looked like the true number one. I mean, great in the transition, fantastic skater, unreal defensively, and just sort of like an Anton Salayev where there's not too much offensive potential, but there's just a lot to like with him just being a well-rounded defenseman. And I just think that this is the defenseman that everyone needs at the next level. And with the 15th overall pick, I have the Detroit Red Wings selecting Cole Eiserman. And he's dropping quite a bit for me, as I just think that a lot of these players are more well-rounded. But I think when it comes upon draft day, they're going to be really concerned with his off-puck play and his defensive aspects. And I just think that, like, the World Juniors, people kind of overshadowed. Okay, he scored the goals, but he didn't. That's not what he really needed to do. He still needed to be effective in all three zones, and he still lacks that. And I do see people going higher on him just because he's got that incredible goal-scoring touch to him. But I just do think that there's just so many holes in his game that just really holds him back from being great and just being a great all-around player, which is definitely going to struggle with him. But I do see him being sort of like a Patrick Laine type at best. But even that, like, I just don't really understand why people are just continuing to put him higher. And I mean, I see the potential with the goal scoring, but I just don't really understand with all the talks of making him be like underrated. He's just a very interesting prospect. I mean, great for sure, a top 10 player, but I just have him going a little bit lower just because I just question a few things. And with the last pick of this mock draft, the 16th overall pick, I have the St. Louis Blues selecting Michael Hage out of the Chicago Steel. And this is a very good one as well. I mean, had a great year for Chicago. I mean, a well-rounded center, great with the puck, great hands, great IQ, and I just think he's just an unreal player to play with and makes his teammates better. Great shooter, great hands, great stick handling, great passer. I mean, a pretty good skater, just a well-rounded center, maybe the second-line center for the Blues in the future, and I think that's really what they're looking for. And that's going to wrap up the mock draft for the 2024 NHL Draft.